A very good evening to you and welcome to POWERBRIEF. This being the 4th day of the month of March, it is yet another opportunity for us to discuss matters, politics, policy, governance and economics. And tonight we do the State of the Nation, that is the March edition. Today we witness a number of by-elections happening in the wards in Nakuru County and also at the western part of Kenya, that is Matungu constituency and Kabuchai by-elections. A number of events have occurred that we shall just be discussing a few minutes from now, even as results will start to be streaming in. Tonight we are joined by Honorable Jeremiah Kioni, who is the MP for Ndaragu and the chairman of the Constitutional Implementation and Oversight Committee in the National Assembly. We are also joined by Mr. Peter Kuria, aka PK, who is also a politician. Honorable David Sudi, the party leader of the New Democrats Party, is also with us in the studio to help us go through a number of issues that are happening in the Republic and what is the way forward. Remember, this conversation is also live on our Facebook page, CAC TV Kenya, and our YouTube channel is CAC TV Kenya. You can also engage us on our SMS number, which is 22167. Keep it here, because here is where all of us belong. Gentlemen, welcome tonight on our discussion on POWERBRIEF. I know Mheshimiwa has had a big day because today they were receiving the bill, that is the BBI bill in the National Assembly, and also Mr. PK and Honorable Sudi. Before we go into the politics of the day, we begin by the COVID-19 vaccine that arrived in the country just the other day, and today the head of state has addressed the country telling people to shy away from the myths and misconceptions that are being peddled by a number of people, and also to embrace what the experts have to say concerning this vaccine. And we also want to hear from you, because you hold very crucial positions in the society, and we want to get your view on this matter regarding the vaccine, and also what do you have to the people as an advice regarding the same, beginning with Honorable Kioni.
Thank you, and asante kwa kutualika, and I'm happy to be in the company of my classmate and schoolmate, college mate. We have been together with Mheshimiwa Sudi quite a bit of the days and years we've been given by the Almighty God of our dunia hii. I think it's a good thing that we have in the country. One is to thank the government and the medical profession, the medical team, the leadership of the country, because on a scale of 1 to 10, we certainly are beyond 6, 7 in terms of management. 8, I could even go to 8, 8.5, maybe 9 sometimes. In the way we have managed the COVID epidemic in this country, and we didn't get ourselves into too much panic mode. It's really been managed well. When we compare ourselves with other developed worlds, we can see how chaotic it was. There wasn't a uniformity of messaging, and as a result of which the curve kept going up, and that of course affected us. Again, even if you are not to go outside very far, if you compare ourselves with our neighbors, I was seeing yesterday in the media, Tanzania reporting that they lost 25 priests and I don't know how many nuns, and they still are not courageous enough to call it COVID and to do what is expected or what others have done. On that score, we want to thank the government and the leadership of the president, because we performed way above average. 2 is now again we have the vaccine, and I remember at one point we as members of parliament engaged the president and asked him at what point does he think we are going to get the curfew done away with, and he was very clear in his mind, very sympathetic to what business people are going through, but very clear in his mind, and said once we are able to vaccinate those frontline people, the doctors, the teachers, the nurses, the police officers, once we've been able to vaccinate also and the aged, the very vulnerable teams, then we can relook at the issues of the curfew. And he actually said, for the reason that young people are the ones who go out and indulge after 10 o'clock. When they come back into the house in the morning and you're asking them, how are you, ulilala wapi, uko namna gani, and you may want even to go into their bedrooms to ensure that they are safe before you leave for work or whatever, the church service and the rest. You are likely to get the virus from them. They will pass the virus to you. And it is not likely, because we have had people who have lost their lives as a result of the virus having been brought home by the younger people. So for that reason, we want to wait for the vaccine, and it is with us here. We want to thank the government. We are told we didn't pay a coin. This is courtesy of UNICEF, some program. I've not quite understood it. But we need to now bring more. And as the president says, this is not where you introduce propaganda. This is not where you introduce politics. We follow the science, we follow the leadership by the government. Let's get our people vaccinated so that we can get back to full.
Many thanks, Honorable Kioni. In summary, also, Mr. Korea.
Thank you. Maybe my point is, first, it's good that the government appreciates science, because the reason why maybe some other places or some other countries are suffering is because they don't want to appreciate science. The moment we do not appreciate science, while we are using the knowledge that God gave us, most of the time we'll miss. And so to me, and from me, I would say it's a good thing, and the government is doing right by accepting and allowing us to be among the very first countries to have this vaccine. And so maybe the point that we will have to work on is making sure that our people have the right information and that they do not have some misconception about the whole thing, about the vaccine. Especially the churches who have not come out clearly to say that they support the whole story. So I really wish that they get to know that this is science and we do the part that science requires us to do.
Many thanks, Mr. Korea. Honorable Sudi, regarding the new development that is occurring as far as the war against this pandemic is concerned.
I do agree. Thank you very much for inviting us to the studio to at least to shed light on what's going on in Kenya. We totally agree that this pandemic came in and thus affected the running of the government. And as we know, the way the pandemic has affected the whole economy, just as my colleague has said, that the government has tried. We have gotten the vaccine now, and we should roll it over, starting from front. The doctors, the nurses, and so forth, and teachers and the students. The way we need to do it is now going to take effect from now on. We're going to support the government to roll it over, and we'll be there to, because we're the ones who are affected. Because as business people and of age, we're the ones who have suffered a lot. So we don't want the future generation to continue suffering, the young children and so forth.
Many thanks, Honorable Sudi, for that agreement with the other panelists. Now, today was a long day in the National Assembly, and we saw the bill being introduced in the National Assembly, that is the BBI. But as it is happening, we are seeing the people who want to appear as opponents, although they are not opponents from their words at the same time, who are saying that another chance has presented itself at the National Assembly to make corrections on those issues that they feel were not actually addressed at the previous level. That is a group led by the Deputy President William Ruto. Himself was yesterday in Narok, and he had those statements. Let's have the video and also have a discussion over the same, now that Honorable Kioni is here to shed light whether Ruto's proposal holds water at this time. Our director.
The content, but instead, this motion is to facilitate some debate by the House in terms of the process of how we do it, so that we speak in one voice as a House, especially on matters that are not currently covered within the standing orders or within the law, but yet will be critical at this very stage, so that we are in tandem with the requirements of the Constitution that it should be.
The Constitution is a sacred contract between the people of Kenya. Let us not use it to divide people, that there are those in this camp and there are others in another camp. Instead, let us use the opportunity that now exists in Parliament for any contentious issues to be removed. Matters to do with undermining the judiciary using the ombudsman should be rectified and removed. Matters to do with removing women from the center of decision making in the National Assembly and taking them elsewhere.
Now, that is Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya and the National Assembly Majority Leader Amos Kimunya having read whatever they are presenting. And Honorable Kioni, to bring you on board as we kick off the politics of the day tonight, Deputy President William Ruto has hinted to his supporters that there is a window for more amendments, more improvements, and more things to be done at this bill now that's at the National Assembly. We want to get it from a legal perspective and your understanding whether his claims are true and whether it is applicable as at now where we are.
A quick thing is that this is a process that started almost 3 years ago, where Kenyans had the opportunity to engage on issues back and forth and agree on what it is that they needed dealt with now and how. We had the first draft, we had the second draft, we had ratification of what was happening. We had sittings at KICC. Many opportunities were granted to everybody in this country to bring out what is this that you wanted, to a point where you would actually wonder how else would it have been done. So for the DP to come up this late in the day and suggest that there are things we should remove in the bill, even before we address the legality of that statement, I think is dishonest. And it is not a good quality in leadership. A leader and a person who aspires to lead the country must have a better clarity of mind and must be seen to help us move on as a country, but not to stagnate us, not to over obstacles, not to block us every time we want to move forward. And one more thing before I come to your question, that I was with the DP during 10th Parliament. We were part of the 27-member committee, Parliamentary Select Committee on the Constitution. And we went to Naivasha for slightly over two weeks to agree on the current constitution. And I tell you, it was not an easy thing. It was a very tough negotiation because our constitution is a negotiated document. It's not a law written somewhere. It is a negotiated document. It was a give and take. And we did all that at Naivasha. There are those who think that perhaps we didn't do the correct thing, we should have done it elsewhere. But when you get to know how it was done, you appreciate that we had a country to protect, and that is the best we would have done at that point. To my amazement, my surprise, my dismay, we all agreed and had a final press conference at Naivasha.
And the DP was there.
And the DP was there. That time was, he had, I think he was, I don't know whether he was still a minister because there was those manenos in ODM, I can't remember exactly how the grand coalition. I think he had been east of his position as
he was actually the Elrich North MP
he was
at that time.
At that time. Having been a minister of agriculture and,
and higher education,
many manenos went around.
But
you know, we set off to Nairobi. At least to tell Kenyans, we had the final press conference. We told Kenyans, we have all agreed, ODM, PNU, all the small parties were there. But before we got to Nairobi, somewhere around when the DP got to Sokomjinga, he actually then announced that I am saying no to the document, and he became the leader of the no. So we have a deputy president who actually said no to the constitution we have today. Unfortunately, I must say unfortunately, because we again said the document was good other than 20%. We have now started addressing the 20% plus. Now, the first attempt we've made on addressing the 20% that was deficient, again the DP has said no to it. There is nothing like saying we amend. This is a clear position of a person saying no, in my opinion. And he said no to the original document, he has said no to the amendment, and he wants to become the leader of this country, which is being managed by a document he has always rejected. That's a very dangerous thing to do. Very, very dangerous. We must know as a country, and I say it's very dangerous, because that is our principal law. And you are running for the highest office to run a country with a law that you rejected. So, like, what we should take is immediately he is in office, the first thing he will do is to declare that we have no constitution, and we go back writing a new constitution. Something that is.
Thank you, Honorable.
Let me now answer your question, and my apologies because I've been too lengthy. Now, we in Parliament, and I said it on the floor, we have no opportunity to amend, to change anything in that document. For many reasons, but I'll give the simplest. That 47 counties considered the bill in their county assemblies. They considered this bill in their county assemblies. They passed it or approved it. 43 of them have approved. There are 3 that have not approved, and perhaps one which is still so searching. Having been approved as is by 43 counties, if you then come at the National Assembly and change it, then you're actually saying, going forward, the bill you have before you is not the one that was approved by the 43.
So legally it might bring a
So
problem.
it actually means you must,
assemblies.
if we change it, you must take it back to the county assembly for them to approve for it to come. So we cannot be seen to have lied to them. Approve a document, so we have an approval, but the document we finally process and take to Kenyans for in the referendum is a different one. So even before you become a legal, put in a legal mind, that's really like a common sense statement. Ile nilikupatia kule chini ndio uko nayo ama ulibadilisha. Kama umebadilisha basi tuko dunia mbili tofauti. So this issue of going to the public to tell the public that there is an opportunity now to alter the document on the floor is a completely misinformed position, another dishonest statement from a person holding such a high office as that of the DP. I feel sad.
Many thank you. Now, Honorable Sudi, a few days ago, Honorable David Murathe, who is usually viewed as a confidant to the head of state, was categorical, and he told Soy MP, that is Caleb Kositani, that Monday is a long day to you. And it happened actually for him. He was actually stripped off his position as the Deputy Secretary General of Jubilee Party. And he hinted, he talked of the next is the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. We are going to eject him in Karen. And he said, however it happens, that is left to them. So what is also your take into these intrigues that are happening in the Jubilee Party, which Honorable Kioni is a member? Do you think the attempts or the plans that Murathe hinted are healthy for the country, for the stability of the country, now that the Jubilee Party is the ruling party of Kenya?
And this is a Jubilee person.
No, I'm not Jubilee. I'm sorry, because I don't belong to that party. The problem is, on the 2 leaders, we elected them, the president as the president of Kenya, and the deputy president. And it seems these 2 people are not in agreement. I will correlate it with a bus, which you have a steering wheel. The driver is driving, going ahead, but the tanboy is not in the bus; he's outside. He's running that way round. So, what I am seeing in this case is, we just need to call for a snap election. This government will never take us to 2022 the way we are, because for honest sake, Mr. Gione, we are in this way because we are suffering as we are being led by people who are not in agreement. Yet we elected them on one post, on Jubilee ticket as taking us ahead. But now they have already quarreled within themselves, and we don't know why.
Now, Honorable Sudi, Deputy President William Ruto, who is the turn boy, the conductor that you just said, has been crying that another conductor in the name of Raila Odinga came and pushed him out of the vehicle, whatever he was doing, and then now that is the reason as to why he is out of the bus.
Well, I don't think Raila has pushed him out. What Raila did is to come in so that they can push the people to move ahead in terms of development. But the problem is not loving your brother, pretending that you are loving one another, and then you still hate yourself. I'll speak on the Christian perspective. Say, love your neighbor as you love another. Why are you pushing another person out? If the president, who is the father of the nation, has put us together in one place, why can we carry on and move on? But you see now, running away, meaning you are scared of something. It seems there's something which is doubtful in our minds. Even if you want to contest thy office, tomorrow you have your own deputy who is undermining you. What will it be? Because the way he's showing us by undermining the president and so forth, and making allegations and so forth outside there, he's making allegations which we are not party to it. We're hearing stories. Why can you go and sit with the president and sort it out? Yes.
Honorable Mr. Kuria, two things have come out clearly from Honorable Sudi and Honorable Kioni regarding the Deputy President's conduct, how he has handled himself as a principal assistant to the President. Sorry. Honorable Sudi has suggested for a snap election. Murathe, he has suggested the ejection of the DP from his position. I don't know from the residence, but I think it was revolving somewhere around there. Between the two, do you think there is any solution in the two, or one of the approach is the best for this matter, bearing in mind that these two people are quarreling, hold the highest seats in the land of Kenya?
Thank you. Let me start from somewhere Mheshimiwa Kioni has said something. I've been watching Mheshimiwa Kioni for a very long time, and in a way he is a man I respect. And maybe just to say, and from my point of view, this BBI document, he has suggested that the deputy president once yesterday were dishonest. I would say from the starting point, even the BBI we are discussing is a dishonest thing to the commoner. And so there's no big deal about what he said. It is a continuation of the dishonest thing that has been going on all through.
So this dishonest route is also part of the dishonesty.
Yes.
Now, what really makes it, though we will not dig deeper into that, why do you think that the BBI is dishonest? Because briefly, let me take you to history a little bit. Kenya has been a unique country politically in that we have arrangements of communities, the tribes, we have the big five and the rest. And political violence has always been viewed every now and then, we've seen it. And this is what President Uhuru Kenyatta came out and admitted as the head of state, that indeed we have a problem, and he offered a way forward, a solution. This other way that you feel was supposed to be these problems that Kenya has been experiencing, to have it a problem, or just accept that we are there and we are there?
I don't think that it's good to accept, because we have to change some things. But I want to start from this. Like when the president stood and shook hands with Honorable Raila Odinga, all of us were happy. But something was going in our mind saying that we wish that he also had the deputy at the same place, because he cannot run away from the point that the deputy is part of him. And so he should have brought the two, because he's a father. He should have brought these two kids together and tell them, this is the way we we want. So to me, it's a dishonest thing because it is coming after some people have complained, and some people are still saying that this was not the original handshake. This is something that has been brought for another reason. And as a person who is on the ground, I was more Jubilee than Honorable Studi here, Mheshimiwa Kioni, because I campaigned for Jubilee. This, what I'm seeing, is not what I campaigned for. I did a lot to make sure that this government is there, but not to bring us to this direction we are headed.
Lastly, before we go for a quick commercial break, do you admit that the Deputy President has been undermining his boss? Because this comment has really been popping up, not only on PowerBrief, but in so many other forums, that he's been running too fast. Even the President himself talked about it at the Bomas of Kenya, that he picked the stick, iyo kijiti, na akatan in another direction.
The reason why we may see the Deputy President as being not or undermining the President is one, he was not, or he has not been part of this thing from the starting point, and that's why for him it is just easy to do things that he has been doing. So he may be seen as undermining, in my own view, but he's not undermining. He's just doing his own thing because he has been alone anyway. Yes. So someone
at that point, as you're going for the break, it's good to inform the young man. And I like his clarity of mind this way, that it has been stated by the President in the presence of the Deputy President that he never went to shake Raida's hand without having asked the Deputy President. That was done in Bomas of Kenya. Even the 9-point agenda was first of all agreed between the President and the Deputy President before Raila was called on board. When if the day of going to meet Raila, the DP knew about it, he was in Karen. And I don't want to say more because the DP himself has admitted that in other forums. The second thing, this is very important because I know you need the break, but you know, misinformation is what is giving us problems and unnecessary propaganda in this country. Finally, the President is expected, as provided for in the Constitution, to report to Parliament every March of the year. What have you done to bring the country together? What have you done to address the issues that put us together? This is one of the key achievements of President Uhuru Kenyatta, because he has addressed some of the very the difficult issues in our management of our country's affairs. So it's not just that he went out to Raila, but he is actually expected to do so by the Constitution. And there arises the other question. Now that this is a requirement of the Constitution, in the event, and I hope Kenyans will decide, in the event that the DP becomes the president after this, if he doesn't do what Uhuru did, to reach out to those whom you defeated, you will have offended the Constitution. That's why I'm saying, there lies the danger. We have a Constitution that is telling us what to do when, and we have a person wanting and having good support to become the president, but acting contrary to this document. A document he already has said that he has rejected. So if he gets to the office and says we have no Constitution, let's write another one, no Kenyan should be surprised.
Many thanks. We go for a quick commercial break. Tonight we are looking into the state of the nation. That is a COVID-19 issue. The BBI bill at the Senate and also at the National Assembly and the by-elections that are taking place in the country. Honorable Jeremiah Kioni, Mr. Peter Kuria and Honorable David Sudi are taking us through this discussion because at the end of the day, to achieve the mantra of peace, love and unity, Kenyans have to be given an opportunity to express what they believe is important for the governance of the country. And as harmonization takes place, then we get a better and a proper country. Keep it on CAT TV.
Hi guys, for the first time Christian Education Department brings you Occasion Night this Friday 5th March live on CAT TV. Venue PCEA Thome, Tell a friend to tell a friend. God bless you.
Being held by the shepherd's hand, I am free, too free.
Msikose tupatane 5th March.
I am free, too free.
What is praise and worship?
Worship from a Hebrew word means to bow down.
The whole team need to be dedicated to the Spirit of the Lord, not practicing as separate entities.
Hallelujah, nitasifu kufika mbinguni. Oh, sana nitaingia kwa shangwe, nitaingia mimi. Nitaingia lango lake na sifa moyoni, nitaingia kwa shangwe kuu.
Welcome back on Power Brief. Here is where we believe on credible information. We give it to you in a way that it will serve to transform your lives and also inform the policy makers and those who implement it to do the right thing for this country in implementing the constitution, governance and other civic duties that are actually bestowed upon them. The three gentlemen on the show tonight are helping us break down each and every information that is required for you. Before we went for a quick commercial break, there is something that we were discussing. Honorable Sudi has given his view. Honorable Kuria has also given his view. And briefly, before we go into looking into the by-election, I wish to understand from Honorable Kioni, though I know he's very economical with a number of things. I compare him to former President Kibaki. Honorable Kioni may run away to tell me this thing. Is it time to actually do whatever Murathe was suggesting to eject the DP, or you buy the idea of Honorable Sudi to call for a snap election? Now,
two things. One is that if I start with the easier one is one of the reasons why we give ourselves the 2010 constitution is because we needed stability and certainty. Certainty such that we will never have snap elections in this country anymore. And a country that doesn't have snap elections is stable in the eyes of the investor, because elections will only come after 5 years. So these snap elections would have been a solution right now, because that would have been done very quickly. But it also deals a big blow to those who want to invest, and investment is a long-term thing. So we want some continuity. It's for that reason that we cannot have snap elections in this country. We can only have by-elections in the event that somebody passes on. We cannot have presidential elections in between the term. That's why we created the position of a deputy president to be running together with the president, so that in the event that the president has a reason as to not be available or not to perform for the full 5 years, we don't call for national elections. We have a deputy. That saves the country money. It allows us to be certain, and it allows stability. That is at the same principle that is being addressed by the BBI. When we say that we want to ensure that those who lose being number one are not condemned into the oblivion, as is the case. If you are in the side that didn't win elections, you also have an opportunity to serve in the government indirectly, in the form of having an opposition area. You have ministers, and those ministers have, shadow ministers, and shadow ministers can engage the minds of people like Sudi in the event that he is not in government, that kind of thing. But the other one then is the issue of evicting the DP from the office, from the official residence. Remember, like you've said correctly, the DP is the principal assistant to the president.
To the head of state.
And it is important to say this. When you are a principal assistant to the head of state, principal assistant to the governor, you have no role. You can only do that which the president or the governor tells you to do. So this issue of saying that one is being denied work to do, the constitution does not allow you to have work to do. Why? Because you don't want to create two centers of power. You want harmony, you want certainty, you want stability in the country. So one center of power, one source of instruction, the president or the governor when you're dealing with the county. So that is an issue that people will have to be comfortable with. I know the president during his first term did assign more duties than allowing the deputy to wait in the event that he is not in office. And that confused people. But having said that, the deputy president's office is a constitutional office. You cannot say that we are going to evict you from your house. That is the official residence of the constitutional office holder in the name of DP. So he is there, and you can only remove him through the processes that have been provided for in the law.
People
those laws,
with political eyes, Mr. Honorable Kioni, walikuwa wanasema ndio talking of evicting him from Karen residency, but Karen is usually associated with the power that DP has. In fact, some people call him Karen. I think he was saying they want to evict him from office.
Those are things you cannot do, and there are things I believe that as a party we cannot do. But and I want to say that those are the personal opinion, personal views, personal statements of the Honorable Marade, who is the vice chair of Jubilee Party. And there are things that one can say out of frustration, and I associate those statements with them. I want to reiterate again, you cannot evict the DP from the official residence. You cannot evict the president from his official residence. If you impeach him, if you impeach the DP, then he automatically moves out of the office.
Without even being reminded to move out.
But let me tell you how it is in the US. In the US, even the official residence of the vice president is not visited. You should not even hold deliberations because it is supposed to be quiet and remaining quiet because it's only available to us in the event the president is not there. I want to give this statement. How did we end up with the deputy president position? After the 1997 elections, President Moi, the former president of the Republic of Kenya, went for almost 2-3 years without a vice president. And at one point where he was buying some skumawiki at Sokomujinga, he said, I have now appointed Professor Saitoti to continue as the VP. If kama hiyo itaweka saa nyingine kwa
So he was doing it half-heartedly?
Not even half-heartedly. It was in contempt of. But as Kenyans, we already were very worried. What would happen to this country in the event of death of the president? The country would get into a crisis. So for that reason, we learned from it and said, henceforth, we are going to put it in the constitution. You are not going, nobody will hold the country again at ransom. So this is a constitutional office, but it is not meant to destabilize the country, and it should never be to compete with the president. The DP has it wrong completely.
Honorable Kioni, there's a problem that is coming up, and I think this is what is giving Mr. Kuria some thought. I'll bring you in, Honorable Sudi. Kuria's problem, I think, comes into the MOU that you people had. How everything was charged, and then you people sat down and said, Kuria, mtakupea nusu ya serikali, we shall be co-presidents. In the constitution, yes, you're the principal assistant, but kwa sababu umeleta watu wako, the other day when DP was in Gatanga, he talked of hata jina yangu ilikuwa kwa ballot paper I was voted for, and therefore I cannot be denied an opportunity to visit any part. I think this is what has been informing this issue. Briefly, when you're in Jubilee, what did you agree?
No, what we agreed, we didn't agree because specifically these are political statements, I would say. And personally, and as a young Kenyan, I would hate, and I don't want it to ever happen, that we are always supposed to carry political debts that we do not know where they came from. When someone stands and says that we have a 1997 whatever debt that we are supposed to be paid, I don't even know what was that. So personally, as a young person, I don't care about the political debts or such. So we never wrote anything on the paper that we are giving you this or this. We just made a statement, and that's what I think the president did. And I think the DP has been on record saying that he also knows there is no debt, because that was just a political statement to win the election in 2017. So I don't need.
Thank you, Mr. Kuria. Just still in the same connection of the BBI, the stability of the country, and all these things to do with the people coming together. Let's have a brief overview on the by-elections, the events that followed, the voting, and everything that is in Nakuru County, and also some part of the western part of Kenya, where people are calling it actually a mock election. If this is a mock election, how is the real election going to be? Our director kindly lead us to those places.
No, you are told by who? Our agents are outside the polling station, my friend. Witness when why? Umeambiwa by who? Huyo mkono huyo. Fukuza yeye. Wewe nani? Toa huyo, mkono huyo. Wewe. Toka hapa. Toka hapa wewe. Naiba kura. Naiba kura wewe. Huyo ni mwizi huyo. Mwizi. Anaiba kura huyo. Fukuza yeye.
Hebu kidogo. Wewe mama, usinitisha mimi kwa kazi yangu. Tafadhali ni kazi yangu. Mimi niko kazi yangu. This is my work. This is my work. Ujinga gani? This is my work. You want to beat me now? You are not going to beat me now. You want to beat me. Now you want to beat me. Mheshimiwa kuja kuleta kwa kazi yangu. Hapana. Wacha ujinga bwana, usikuje kusumbua wewe, unanitisha kama nani? Wewe wacha na watu, acha msa kwenda huko hata wewe.
Now, gentlemen, that is what we call the mock election. Honorable Sudi, your party, that is the New Democrats, has been skeptical on this matter of the Building Bridges initiative, which the head of state and the former prime minister have been talking of. The country bans every moment we smell an election or a general election, and this is just what happened today in a by-election.
Yes.
Where are we, and what does this depict to the country?
Yes, I appreciate what my brother again said. Maybe most of you never knew what I went through, but what he has said is correct. This country we have two sorts of documents. We have the Bible, which is a document which is constitutionally supposed to lead us. We have the Constitution, which is written by a negotiated document. So we should not be relying on the negotiated document mostly, and we leave the document that God gave us free of charge. If you follow exactly what is written in the Bible, Mr. Cleone, there is nothing new which is happening in the world which has not happened, which is written there. So whatever we are seeing happening now is exactly what has happened before. So we should not be suffering and going on all those things. If you are watchful, this is the 12th Parliament. God, when He created the earth, He said 12 as a beacon of time. But at 12, if you look at the clock, at 12 it goes to 1. So it is risky. We need to change. That's why the 2-10 rule was put in the Constitution as a wake-up call. And even the President should dissolve Parliament using Maraga's advisory. He's still going to lead us, since his term is going to 2022. He will still, God has added him another term so that they can take us to Canaan. Because remember, Jubilee and Canaan, they are biblical terms. Jubilee, at the year of Jubilee, all debts are cancelled. But you see what's happening here now? Debts are rising exponentially. Okay. The handshake which Raila did, he was handing over to the President Uhuru to take Kenyans to Canaan. Remember when his campaign was, he wants to take Kenyans to Canaan. He has handed over to Uhuru now. And the bridges, with the passing on of Yusuf Ache as the chairman of BBI, building bridges in Egypt. The New Democrats registration number in the register of political parties is 40, meaning end of 40 years in the wilderness for Israel to cross over. The symbol of the New Democrats is a bridge of 42 pillars, which means every Kenyan is holding a pillar. So I'll give the president to take us to Ghana. He should call for snap election, otherwise we perish. Remember, Rachel, the second wife of Jacob. If you read in Genesis that 1 verse 19, he stole his father's goats. That act of stealing is like corruption in Kenya. And she was pregnant. She was pregnant with the 12th son of Jacob. And that 12th son, when she was going to bear him, she died. She died because of stealing. Now, the 12th Parliament in Kenya, the current Parliament, the mother is Kenya. Do you want Kenya to die? If we go full term, we need to oppose pregnancy. And that is why, in simple terms, that is why the two dashes was there to oppose this. And we should not ignore it, because we are suffering with two things. Kenya is suffering with constitutional crisis and political crisis. And if we ignore the constitutional, it will overtake the political meaning.
Many thanks, Honorable Sudi. I come to Kuria. Mr. Kuria, you've just seen what has happened today in the morning in those by-elections, the violence. And at the same time, you have talked of you are not for the idea of the BBI. These are mock. Nakumbuka tukiwa class 8 tunaambiwa hii ni mock. Alafu pia form 4 ati mock inakuanga ngumu, inakupea picture of the final exam. These are mock election. Now, for you and maybe the company who are talking of the BBI is not the solution as at now. Where we are standing or where we are sitting as a country with these things, where do you think the solution should come from?
First of all,
remember that's your parting shot as I come to Honorable
yes, first of all,
as we wind up the show.
I don't think I say that I'm not for BBI. It's just that the whole process has been dishonest. So there might be a few things which are good in the constitution or in the BBI proposal, and there are some which I don't think are necessary. With what we have seen there, first of all, I want to tell any aspiring young leader, kindly don't learn from what we are seeing. We are in an environment where we don't have anything good that we can be able to learn to be used in the future. Because if this is what you are going to learn and we are the ones taking over, then I assure you there will be no Kenya in the future. So this is not anything that any one of us would want. And I want to say that I condemn such things. I condemn people who are not political tolerant, because these are the problems we have. But again, I want also to say there is both sides of a story. There is one that is brought in by government, and there is that one that is brought in by the other people who think that the government is misusing power. And I want to ask our fellow citizens, my fellow citizens, nobody deserves to die because of any politician. Because after all, they will go at their homes, they will go into hell while you remain suffering. Yes.
Many thanks. Honorable Kioni, those were your colleagues, a good number of them. And this thing of violence, especially among the youthful politicians and members of parliament, legislators, waheshimiwa kama wewe, is really on the rise. One, I don't know if this is what you oriented them, because watu wakikuja first time nyinyi wazee wa kule ndani vile mnaendanga Mombasa unaambia hapa tunaenda na I don't know whether that's what you oriented them to. With these kind of issues, is it time to relook the whole procedure of how we conduct our elections, or even suspend elections for some time, as some people are trying to advise?
Many things from this. One is that it's unfortunate and we must condemn it. It should not have happened. And we really want to be the families that were hurt. I'm told there are people who have critical injuries, and we really want to say power to them. Elections are not supposed to be to resort into this kind of thing. They're supposed to be things that help us decide how do we move forward. Unfortunately, we see members of parliament who are supposed to be setting examples of how to conduct themselves, and they have failed, because when it gets this kind of violence, you cannot say that you are on the right. As a leader, you should have been able to avoid that scenario, because the whole country is looking up upon you. They are likely to behave the same way you have behaved, and like Kuria says, it is actually, there is nothing good to pick from there. But you see, this has been coming for 3 years, because you can see the hype in the political, the insults that have been going there from one politician to the other, from politicians to the head of state. This is what you reap from that behavior of 3 years. And that's why some of us have a lot of difficulties with this movement of the DP, because that is the end result. It is not a way of negotiating. It's like we are coming, and I would rather that you move into power in a different manner. And when you are in that office, you certainly do things different.
Now,
but let me say this: why the silver lining? Because every cloud has a silver lining. Now we know as a state what is likely to befell us 2022. So the security system must prepare to ensure this does not happen. 2, we have the BBI and the neighboring laws. And the laws, the amendments that we are going to do in the Electoral Act, and they have already been proposed, are to criminalize this kind of things. To the point where when you are involved in that kind of behavior, you don't become an elected member of parliament. That is what part of the BBI process. So you can actually see why some people are already fighting the BBI thing. The other thing is that we are used to associating ODM with the violence. We didn't see any ODM there. So there is some sense of violence that we need to say that is not right. Finally, let me say this. the BBI addresses the two-third gender rule. I see the president trying to say that it is kicking out women. No. BBI is actually now securing a position for women in the Senate and a position that is substantive because they become full, they vote on equal basis as senators. And they're also going to be there in the National Assembly. This way, there's going to be a 70 on top that is going to be available for topping up, but only for 2 terms. After 2 terms, we are through with affirmative action. Every time there is an affirmative action, there is an end to it. But remember, like he said, we don't have a parliament because it was dissolved by Maraga. So when you are talking about parliament, you have to be very careful. We are trying to amend things so that we don't end up in a crisis that we were left in by Maraga. So if you don't get the BBI process on board, we will be in a very serious constitutional crisis.
Many thanks, Honorable Kioni. Many thanks, Mr. Peter Kuria, and many thanks, Honorable Sudi. This has been a discussion that has actually enabled us to look into our country, matters that have preceded the month of March. That is the COVID-19, the BBI at the Senate and also at the National Assembly, and the chaos that were exhibited today in some of the areas that were conducting the by-elections. And just some of the news coming in right now is that the Jubilee Party has won the by-election at Huruma Ward in Uasin Gishu County, and also the United Democratic Alliance, that is the UDA party, has won the by-election in London Ward. More will come tomorrow as we come here on Mwale Wakak, that is our Kiswahili version of news. We appreciate your comments, your contribution and your feedback on our social media platforms and on our SMS number. From me, Cornelius Omuse, and the entire Power Brief production team and the team that is here, we shall continue ensuring that you have information, because better information is power. Till next Thursday, God willing, have a very good night.